Hello there. I had a kind person pay Red what might be probably his first compliment in the game, all 3'4" of him, and you asked a little more detail about the build. So I'll try and give the basics here. It's nothing particularly amazing. We'll start with the enhancements. He's a halfling. He has a couple of points in the racial, so 1, 2, 3. I've spent 1 point in there just to get this dexterity. His main tree is the Deepwood. Now I should add here that I use him mostly for questing because being hopelessly insecure around other players, I struggle to join in with the raids and that kind of thing. Now, if you were looking for something to do raids, i.e., maximum single target damage against huge bosses, this tree would be your one, the Horizon Walker, definitely. But since I'm just mostly doing questing with him, I've gone for the tier 5s in here and the capstone, so basically he gets more double shot and more ranged power out of this tree than he would out of the Horizon. And I also use, which people probably wouldn't recommend, but as a pure ranger, he's a pure ranger, 20 levels of ranger, which gives me the option of the capstone here. Most of the ranged builds I see are like 13 rogue, 6 ranger, and 1 monk for the critical multiplier, or 2 warlock they put for the extra damage, vulnerability damage on the targets or something. But again, mostly geared towards the high-end raids, I think, which I just don't do. So yes, 42 points in here, all the tier 5s, the extra double shot in there as well, extra damage against favoured enemies, an extra favoured enemy in there. I chose human because there's loads of them in the game, but I have being a full ranger, I have a very extensive list of them, which I could show. So 42 there. Horizon Walker, I've not taken any of the cores apart from the first one, which I don't use. I use the mark in here in this tree because I have more points there, so this mark is more effective. So that's on my bar there, just in when there's a boss or something that comes along. Basically, I'm just in here for the trance, the no step mist. So half of your dex going into as an insight bonus to hit and damage, isn't it? I think, is that right? Insight bonus. Oh, to just to damage. Sorry. So that's really nice. And the other nice thing in here, well, there's a couple actually. There's an extra favoured enemy there, which the more you stack, obviously, the more damage you do to each one. That's a nice one. When you're in the Archer's Focus, the single target thing, remaining stationary for 6 seconds suddenly jumps it up there, as you can see, 1d4 plus 4 stacks, which is very nice to sort of get you going higher very quickly on a single target for ranged power. Because as you probably know, each stack of Archer's Focus is worth 5 ranged power, and that with this tier 5 can go up to 25 stacks. So that's, what is that? Come on, basic maths. Is it 5 or is it 3? I had 75 in my head. I think it's 3. Every stack gives, oh no, plus 5 competence bonus to ranged power. So how much does that actually work out to? 25 times, is that 125? Whoa. That's quite a bit more than I thought it was 3 for some reason. Maybe they've changed it. So that's quite a bit more than I thought. So when you're in the single target thing, I switch between the two. I go between the improved precise shot, try and line things up and take them all down with one big attack. My big attack is the Hunt's End from Shiradi, the epic strike, and I pair that with the sniper shot. That's a fairly standard thing to do for any archer build, Hunt's End and sniper shot, to get like I don't know, you can get if you've got a full load of archer's focus up, you can get over 100,000 damage on a single target doing that, especially if the conditions are right, like it's been held or made helpless in some way. So I interrupted myself. That was a horizon tree for the trans and the archer's focus. Those are the two important ones in there, in my opinion. The favoured enemy is nice too. I took some saving throws versus traps just to get me up to the next tier, and +3 to attack with weapons. In here I've basically taken just about everything. I didn't go, the purists would say go with leg shot, because that works on some, well, quite a few bosses, including raid bosses, I'm led to believe, slowing opponents down, which can be really valuable. But as I raid so little, and I wouldn't even know which one to try it on. A lot of the ones I've tried it on, nothing seemed to happen. So because you need to invest 4 points to take it, I didn't go down that route, but that would definitely be one for the people wanting to raid. In here you've got some choices. The Vistani tree. For defences, well, actually there's a favoured enemy in there, low-hanging fruit. You just spend 2 points in there to get Undead Hunter, which is very nice. And then if you're prepared to spend 6 to get the second core, you've got the deflect arrows feat there, knocking aside one incoming projectile every 6 seconds. Now, it might not seem very glamorous, but when you're doing sort of mid-Reaper, like Reaper 6 or something, or 4 even, as I've been doing with Red, and you go into something like Death House, the Ravenloft, and there's all those needle blight things, they can absolutely tear you to pieces. So deflecting the missiles is really super nice. And this is where the other side of the Ranger comes in. In the Tempest tree, if you can put 4 points in here, into this improved defense, it says at the bottom there, if you possess deflect arrows, it can trigger once every 2 seconds now. So once every 2 seconds, if you're under a hail of fire, the things are not going to hit you, which usually means you can pop out, you know, take your shot or whatever and pop back in, and whatever has the chance to shoot at you, unless you're really taking some serious fire, a lot of it gets deflected. So that's great. That's my one concession to defense. A couple of points in falconry just for the hunter's knowledge, the extra favoured enemy there for the animal. So there are, even if you've just got 2 points to spend here and 2 in there, extra favoured enemies is always nice, especially if you're going in with the Horizon Walker as your main tree, because the capstone there, if you look at the bottom section, marked targets are considered to be favoured enemies, so you can deal an insane amount of damage against anything that you mark. So it's nice to stack up the favoured enemies and go for this +3 hit and damage as the favoured hunter in the Deepwood tree if you can. Right, yes, I had some points left over, so as this imbue thing is relatively new, I just thought I would try to get some of the low-hanging fruit in here. So if I'd have had the points, I would have liked a force imbue because this acid one some of the things he comes up against are completely immune, like the devils in Grim and Barrett, for instance. But it costs you 6 points, as far as I can see, to get the force one up to a decent damage, which I just didn't have. And the other reason I stuck with the acid is he already had an acid ring in his gear. You're probably thinking, why on earth has he equipped that? It's nothing really to do with the build. Well, yes and no. It's if you look at the alchemical earth attunement, attacks and offensive spells deal stacking acid damage over time. So that's the reason for that being there. And it just so happens that these acid imbues scale off acid spell power. Unfortunately for me, not ranged power. So that's why I've stuck with the acid there. It's just like a cheap little extra on the damage. Now, if we're looking at the tens of thousands of damage he can do with the the special shots, the Hunt's End and Sniper Shot, the imbue damage is neither here nor there. But the regular shot damage is I think it's around 400 for red, but he always does double shots, so let's call it 800. And the imbue damage it can be somewhere around 400, 300, 400, so maybe about half of the damage of a regular shot. So it's not terrible by any means, but somebody doing like a much faster rate of fire, some kind of inquisitive build with no holds on all the time, or a repeater build, I think would get much more out of these imbues than I do. But as I say, I had some spare points, so I just thought I'd throw them on. The other useful thing I can see in here is this second core. The arrows now deal bludgeoning, piercing and slashing damage, so against things like maybe undead, zombies and things, which I think would be resistant to piercing if I'm right, but it stops you running into the damage reduction of quite a few opponents. So that's why that is there. I think that's more or less covered that. Now if you didn't fancy the imbue, you could go, and many do, a bit more in this tree, go for the haste boost, which is very good. I have a couple of little boosts down here, one Reaper one and one from the Deepwood tree, ranged power. I just forget to put them on half the time, so if I had another one, a haste one, I don't know. But it's certainly totally valid choice, that. And then you could go for the third core as well, which is a nice 5% on Doubleshot. I think that's it for the enhancements. So Reaper enhancements, I don't have many Reaper points on him, and normally I would always say go 21 in the Grim Barricade for this fourth core. 100 hit points is not to be sniffed at, and +1 on all saves, plus all the extra hit points, from the con that you're getting through being in here. Not just the extra con. Every one of these gives you 8 hit points against 4 for these. I just saw the lure of the ranged power here, and seeing as I've predominantly just done that, just stacked range power on this build, I thought, right, let's have 3, 6, 9, I think those are double, so that's 6, 12, is it 20? Yeah, 21 extra ranged power, plus 4 decks in there in Reaper mode, and there's some extra hit and damage in there too, plus got some. I just took these, I think, to get to the top tier there. Got that. The boost I use is that one there, the 30% Reaper bonus to Doubleshot, which I've got on there. when I find a boss, I tend to activate those two together, the double shot and the range power. And that's the trance one from the Horizon Walker tree, the dex bonus to damage. Epic Destinies. So obviously main tree is Shiradi, the sort of standard ranged one. All 4 cores, gone all the way up here with the Hunt's End. An extra favoured enemy there, Fae. We've gone with Prism and the double rainbow, so we're in the Shiradi Destiny mantle there. It's all fairly standard stuff. Double shot, and then this is the one bit of crowd control that I really have. The pin and then the Otto's Whistler. Now, if you get lucky, if you're in Grim and Barrett or something, and you have a line of things coming towards you, and you can manage to trace a line through them, hit them all at once as they're moving, it can be massively satisfying to see them all start to dance. But more often than not, I get it wrong and end up having to flee in panic. Now, that's another thing that Horizon Walker tree has that my main tree, the Deepwood, doesn't. A real sort of get out of jail card in the form of this Misty Step. I can't say enough how nice that is, or how much I miss it on my current build. It's its bonus is a twofold really. First of all, it gets you out of any trouble you can get yourself into, but secondly, if you look at the bottom there, you gain ranged power equal to your character level for 12 seconds. So if you're capped, that's 32 extra ranged power every time you use that. Now, if you were just using it to get the ranged power, to me it's a bit painful to keep just pressing it and keep remembering to press it all the time. But for an evasive maneuver, when you've got something all over you, it's awesome, and I really do miss that. Basically, I've sacrificed single target power and that awesome defensive ability for more ranged power and double shot in general for questing by going in this tree. So, where had I got? Oh yeah, there's a little healing spring, which I've added. I mean, a lot of the ranged builds, the ones for the raids, I think they just must be in good strong groups with designated healers, because I don't see any healing at all built in there. This is just like an extra little thing that I've put on my bar. It's just only 1 point to spend, and it's like a ticking heal, like a greater vigor like the druids have, so I quite like it. Here, normally I would have said stay. What are the choices now? There's one that each choice gives a special debuff on the opponents, doesn't it? Like this one can give silence for 10 seconds, which I suppose isn't bad if you're targeting a caster, but otherwise fairly useless. The reason I'm in that is that somebody a while back pointed out that if you go into the Fate Singer tree, whose cores also give ranged power, so that's nice, there's this thing in here, harmonic resonance. So if you're hammering away on a big boss target, you can give him vulnerability to sonic damage stacking, and then both in here on a Vorpal strike, and in here 7% of the time, no, 15% of the time, you are dealing sonic damage. So very quickly on a boss, you would build up this 30% extra vulnerability to these sonic damage. So that's quite a nice thing to have. Otherwise, I would definitely not go with the Stay Loud. There's a Force one which I think gives a slow effect, which is a nice form of CC, I guess. Or the light one, which I would probably favour if you weren't doing the Fate Singer, because that gives blinding possibilities, and blinding obviously gives sneak attack chances too. But I've stayed with the Sonic. Not a lot is resistant to Sonic, and it sort of ties in well with this Fate Singer thing. The rest of the points, Shadow Dancer's a very nice tree for a ranged, I think. Ranged power in the cores. DDO is very handy. Oh, another important thing I forgot to mention. In these two trees, the Shadow and the Fate Singer, you've got the generate less threat when dealing damage. So if you happen to be in a group and somebody's trying to tank something, this character has 65 less threat. Plus, he's wearing the quiver from the Mark of Death raid, and you'll see on there's another 15% less threat. So overall he's in a pretty good shape for that. Also in this tree we've got sneak attack dice, very nice. Some fortification bypass. I've tried to stack as much of that as I can, of which more later. And some more Doubleshot plus immune to energy drain, so that's nice too. On the top tier of Shiradi, I took everything apart from the spell DCs. That's fairly obvious. That epic moment is very nice. I tend to use it when I'm running around being chased by an end boss. Part of it is allowing you to... Normally you can't build up stacks of this Archer's Focus while you're moving about, but part of that allows you to do so, so that's great. So, let's have a quick look at the gear. I can tell straight away something's not right there. Why have we only got 69 decks? There's something wrong. Don't even know why. Well, that's embarrassing. There's something wrong, and I can't. I can't tell what on earth it is. Anyway, not to worry. The essentials normally is in well into the 70s. In Reaper mode, low 80s decks. There's something. There must be something very obvious. The Isle of Dread set bonus isn't showing for some reason. Oh, that's it. Maybe that was part of the... Yeah, we're up to 71. I think it's one of these where you have to unequip and re-equip, and it...
That was fun! I look forward to working with you in the future.
And it shows up. There's definitely more to come there. Anyway, not to worry. So, he has the basic Shan set, so light armor, wall watch circlet. If you are a raider, there's a better version of that. I can't remember from which raid, or I say remember, I've never actually done the raid. And the gloves. But that's not displaying either for some reason, that Shan set. I don't know why. There we go. Maybe that's... no, there's something weird going on anyway. I was dead when I logged in. I don't know if it's something to do with that. But now the Shan bonus is... I dare say there's another bonus or two that's not being displayed here. So yeah, the 3-piece Shan set: head, armor, gloves, and then I've gone for 5 pieces of Dread, Isle of Dread gear for this set, this nice set bonus here. So we've got another 15 on ranged power. The nice thing about the Dread, or the indeed the Ravenloft, you can do the same with Ravenloft gear. It's a profane bonus, so it stacks with the artifact bonus that the Shan stuff gives, or indeed the Feywild stuff gives. So we've got boots, bracers, belt, cloak and trinket in Isle of Dread. From memory, 1, 2, 3 and 4 all come from Isle of Dread quests. This one here, the Belt of the Black Sands, comes from the Wilderness, and I posted a little video in the guide section on how to farm the rares in the Wilderness. That's just a slaver's thing I put on to sort of round out the thing. I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have put sheltering, because there's sheltering already on the trinket, so that was a boo-boo. But quality dex is nice. Devotion for a little bit of power for the heals, but honestly, self-healing in Reaper 4 or higher on this build is not good, even with devotion power. It's okay for healing others. That healing spring and the cure series isn't terrible for giving top-up heals to others. Now then, actually this I told you wrong there. The cloak is not part of the... It is a Dread item, but it's not part of the Dread set. I'm using a minor artifact from Dread that can drop randomly in any quest, or as a chain end reward. And I've left most of it empty, but if you can see on the horn section there, the Relentless Fury is a very nice one to have. If you don't have Dread, you can get the same bonus in the next slot on the Raptor Tooth necklace that I think might come from the first quest of the Dread Isle, the one that you go through the hut in the harbour, the one that you use to access the Fey area. There's the Isle of Dread prequel in there, and I think the Raptor Tooth necklace drops in there. Relentless Fury, definitely recommend it. My ring I've already mentioned, so the only other thing is these goggles. They drop, if I remember right, in the first part of the new Temple of Elemental Evil, and that's a really nice item for a ranged. Before these came out, I think I'm right in saying the only thing with insightful Doubleshot was the raid equivalent of this helm, so that's a really nice one for people who don't raid too often. Deadly and quality deadly, and 14 extra Doubleshot, just really nice. I should mention the feats and things as well, shouldn't I? Let's how much am I going to be able to see on here? Or maybe I'll have to go and see Fred to show that. Favoured enemies, obviously as a ranger you get loads. some of these, I think, have come from enhancement tree. Yeah, there's a evil outsider is in the Horizon Walker. Then you've got undead in the Vistani, animals in the falconry, human in the Deepwood, and also the 5th core in Deepwood gives +2 damage when attacking favoured enemies, as well as an additional 10% fort bypass, so that's very nice. Evil Outsider is very nice for many bosses, and Lawful Outsider, I think Reapers are classed as lawful evil outsiders, I think. So I think if you have both of these two, you deal more bonus damage to Reapers. So that's nice. Constructs and Elementals are quite popular to have on there because they have quite a lot of, as far as I understand it, quite a lot of fortification, so they're difficult to crit, so you want to do plenty of damage against them. And undead are very numerous, plus are crit resistant as well, so they're nice to have. Ranged feats, a lot of these are auto granted with the ranger, so improved precise shot you get with 11 levels of ranger. Many shot comes at level 6. Precise shot and archer's focus auto granted again, so is the rapid shot. Shot on the run, you get that from, I think you take dodge and mobility to get that. Now if you have feats to spare, only if you have feats to spare, it gives 6 ranged power and prevents the as it says there, the penalty to the attack roll when moving and shooting. But I don't think the penalty's that big a deal. It's the 6 range power people like from there, but only if you have spare feet. Right, what else have I got in there? I've got power critical. Precision is a big one. And do you know, I'm looking on this bar, I'm not even sure precision is toggled on. That's a bit of a cock up, isn't it? Or maybe when I put it on the bar, if it flashes as being toggled on. No, it's not. So it's not. Gain 5% to hit and reducing target's fortification by 25%. That's a really big deal. And I didn't have it toggled on. That's how good I am. Okay, so that's corrected. Racial feats, no. Martial, no. Oh, improved critical ranged, obviously. I don't think those are auto-granted with ranger anyway. Ah, yes, so I took dodge and mobility. But the real reason I took both of those was to get the shot on the run. I would only do that if you have enough feet spare. If you're doing multi-class build, like lots of levels of rogue, you'll probably need to spend more feats on the standard ranger things, because you won't get as many auto-granted that way. Okay. What about the epic then? So we got combat archery at 21. That's just an absolute win-win with a bow. A bit less so with the like inquisitive type stuff crossbow. But when you're using look there in it, when using a longbow or shortbow, +1 critical multiplier in addition to +1 W damage. So really nice. At 24 it was overwhelming critical. What else do we have? Oh, Doubleshot, obviously. Now I took Pierce Cold Iron at 22 because bypassing these metal damage resistance is nice. The biggest one of those is Adamantine, as far as I'm aware, for like golems and stuff like that. But if you have this deconstructor augment, you can get around that very nicely. So that's why I put that as one of my slots in my weapon. The other one is a good Ruby of Good, because that gets you around quite a few enemies, damage reductions too. I've interrupted myself again. So we took combat archery, overwhelming critical. Hang on. Doubleshot. Pierce Cold Iron at 22. The legendary feat was just legendary aim, +10 to attack. And then this embodiment of law. My character happens to be lawful. And I noticed with this new imbue change that gives you 2 imbue dice as well. So that was one of the reasons I pushed to add a little imbue to the build. If you really want to maximize offense, I would have gone with chaotic, because the chaotic version of this Harbinger of Chaos gives 2 Doubleshot as well as 2 imbue dice, whereas this one gives physical and magical resistance. And the legendary feat, now a lot, especially those focusing more on the sneak attack side of things, like with the rogue, heavy investment in rogue, would go with I think it's the Ethereal plane with 6 sneak attack dice and bonuses to skills and things for the trap side of things, because those builds can do that kind of thing. I don't do any trapping and such. I can search out secret doors reasonably well, but that's about the sum total of it. Now I went with this Arborea for more ranged power, because I was finding that, well, obviously running solo, but also running in a very small group, I was too often attacking the thing that was attacking me, so I wasn't getting any sneak attack damage or anything like that. So in that case, it pays me to just have a more flat ranged power, and also there's an imbue dice there, which I don't think the Ethereal one gets an imbue dice. So that's another little thing to consider. I think that's... Oh, there's another one there, the Watchful Eye. Now that goes with... I think that's taken at level 30. And on its own, something to do with traps. It's not really applicable to this build, but paired with, I think that one, yeah, Pierce Deception in the Shiradi tree, you get +5 Doubleshot, so that's then very nice. I think that's just about it on the feats. I haven't mentioned the filigree. Now on here, I've mentioned the augments in there just to get around enemies' damage reduction. The weapon itself comes from the Dryad and the Demigod raid, or the Bear raid as our little group calls it. and I was extremely fortunate. We were running it on normal, and there were only about 3 of us in there, and this thing just dropped for red one day at the end of it. I just thought, oh my god, it's nice. I guess if you do more raiding, the weapon of choice would probably be the Chaos Bow for the for adding stacking vulnerability onto big bosses. But this isn't bad at all. Not bad at all. I've gone with ranged power and fort bypass, really, with the filigrees on here.
I look forward to working with you in the future.
So we've got 4 pieces of spines of the manticore. I say 4 pieces because some are on the artifact. The artifact has it's just like doubled up the ranged power in these sets. So that's a rare raid filigree for ranged and part of the spine set. Then we've got attack and damage, ranged power, and then on the artifact we've also got the same rare range. So you can, if you didn't know, you can double up the same one on the weapon and in the artifact to get like double the same bonus. So that's what I've done. The artifact has just ranged power, 4 different sets. So Dreadbringer, Spines, Crackshot, and Deadly Rain, and those all count obviously towards these sets here. So I can duplicate along the top. We've got the same thing again: Deadly Rain, more ranged power, Dreadbringer ranged power, Crackshot ranged power. So I've gone for 3 in Crackshot for the 15 ranged power the set bonus brings. I've got 5 in Dreadbringer for 15 ranged power and 30% fort bypass, which is pretty huge. Just 2 in Deadly Rain. Now, you could put any set with ranged there, like Wild Hunter or whatever has 2 ranged. Oh, sorry, whatever you have that has that you have 2 ranged things in would be fine, because I only put 2 bits. The nice thing about this one is that 2 pieces give you another 5 ranged power for the Deadly Rain. I think Wild Hunter is the same, and I think quite a few of them that offer ranged power will give an extra 5 bonus for having 2 pieces, so that's not difficult to find, I don't think. And then 4 pieces of the Manticore give another 10 ranged power, as well as an extra +2 damage. I've gone for this Manticore set because obviously these rare raid filigrees, which if you didn't know you can get for Threads of Fate from the raids. Just double click on the Threads of Fate in your inventory and you'll see the options. These things give +10 range power on their own, and then being as they're part of a set, I just thought I'd put another 2 spines to get the extra 10 range power from the 4-piece set. And I think I have waffled on far too much already with all that. Just the basic play style. If I have a big single target to go at, like a portal in the shroud or an end boss or something like that, I'll click on the Archer's Focus immediately. If it's more like groups of opponents, especially if I'm lucky enough to have a Bardy type character around holding everything, then I usually use the improved precise shot for the questing to hit through lines of opponents and try and maximise the damage that way. Just got the sort of standard ranger buffs on the bar. Ram's Might, very important, extra damage. Freedom of movement, very nice. I've got the 2 relevant Yugoloth potions here. One of them, I think Betrayal is Dex and Desire is Con, so I just use those. That's the potions from the Commendations of Valor that you can get. Now when you have a capped character, you collect loads of those anyway at the end of each quest, so I think they cost 35 commendations each, these things, to get. So a nice little alchemical bonus to attack and damage. Greater heroism, if you don't have these belts which come from the Zorian Cipher quest, you can scroll it if you have UMD. Speaking of which, it's a bit of a pain in the backside because it only lasts just over a minute, but Tensor's Transformation is very nice for bonuses to dex, so attack and damage, constitution for hit points, armor class for a bit more defense. It's painful to renew it all the time. I don't do it all the time. I tend to just pick a sort of a down moment in the quest when I'm not being attacked and then just put it back on then. My 3 little heals there. And that's, as I said before, that's like the main attack, the Hunt's End, and then immediately after Sniper Shot, and that does a big chunk of damage, well into 5 figures. That's the many shot, and that's my one crowd control, the pin, the Otto's Whistler. If things are moving towards you, as they probably are because you'll be running away, then hopefully that will cause them to dance and give you some breathing space. Right, I've waffled on way too much already. Sorry if it's been a bit heavy going, but that's just about as much as I can think of for Red's build. And if you've made it this far, thanks for watching.